All right, what's up, everyone? Today we're going to be talking about Victor Hugo's Les Mis. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name right. I've been trying for like 3 days, totally struggling. I finished this book last night on July 31st. No, July 30th. Um, and I could probably sit here for about an hour and talk about this book, but we're not going to do that because you can go on YouTube and find about 7,536,438 236.17 book reviews on this book. So, actually, I don't even know if there's that many, to be honest. A lot of people bypass it because of the length. Where it's talking 1,460 pages. It's not, to me, it was an easy read because, and we'll go over that because I freaking loved it. It was the best thing I ever read in my life, besides the Bible, like, literally, so far. There might be other classic books that pass it up in the future, but as of right now, and one thing I am going to dedicate this book, or like dedicate to myself with this book, is I'm going to read it yearly because this was my first classic read ever. I think I might have read a couple in high school, but that's almost 30 years ago. I don't remember. You know what I mean? I think I read A Tale of Two Cities and like Of Mice and Men, and I think there was another like Charles Dickens book that we read in school because I was in the I don't remember what they called it, like the advanced English literature. I don't even know. I don't remember. AP. I guess it was called AP classes. I don't know. Who knows? It was a long time ago. It certainly did me no good as far as my brain goes when I graduated because, I did nothing. Anyways, and I went to college. It didn't matter. Not in America. It really doesn't matter. I know people that graduated with a bachelor's degree from a university and they're still working at McDonald's. You know what I mean? It's America. All right, so and the reason I say all that is because it's miserable. And this book, as miserable as it is, Victor Hugo takes you on a journey unlike anything I've ever read before in my entire life, for sure. And I've read close to 200 books since September of 2025. And nothing comes close to what you get in this book. The cast of characters is amazing. The way he interweaves all these, like, when you're leading up to a scene or a certain character meeting another character or a group of characters coming together, he spends a couple of hundred pages building that up, meeting all these other characters and places and stories and backstories, all getting to, the one little scene that's going to happen. And it's so amazingly well done. It's so amazing. The way he intricately just squeezes everything in there, and you just like when you're gonna meet your main guy, Jean Valjean. I'm probably butchering his name. You spend a good 100 or maybe more pages before he even comes into the book, and then you spend another 100 more or so before his character really starts building. And he's a phenomenal character. And I should have highlighted what the Archbishop tells him at the beginning of the book when he's leaving. He's leaving the Archbishop's place with the 2 candlesticks and the other stuff he took. Jean Valjean's leaving. I should have highlighted what because this book hit me on emotional levels that I've never had in my life reading. And my wife, I don't have emotions. You can ask my wife. Besides angry, I get angry. That's about it. But I don't really feel like, when I'm reading, I don't really feel too much within the book. I'm reading to read because I love to read. But this one just definitely did something. It was great. I rated it a 20 out of 10 because I had zero clue how to rate it. And I knew it was far beyond anything else I ever read. The Sum of All Fears already got kicked off of my favorite book of all time, and this replaces it. So it was just an incredible book, you know what I mean? And I can't wait till July of 2027 to read it again, because I'm going to read it again. I just keep thinking about it. All week while I was reading it, I thought about it. And just the way it's almost unexplainable for me. I really should have, if you go on my post here on YouTube, or if you follow me on Facebook, I made a post where I kind of wrote out better than how I'm speaking. I can write better than I can talk. So the post does much better justice of a review for this book. And I posted it on YouTube and on Facebook right as soon as I finished the book. So, and that was last night. I stayed up to finish it, and I'm so glad I did. It was just a great read. I mean, I can't say it enough. The cast of characters, your main characters, really, you got Jean, you have Cosset, Marius, Yavert, and so many more. There's so many more characters. You feel so terrible for like Fantine, Cosette's mom. I'm butchering the names. I'm sorry, I'm butchering the names. But you feel so bad for her. You feel so bad for Cosette as well. When her story is so terrible, you despise Yavert. You despise. I bet his name is Yavert, but you despise the Nonadirs. I'm butchering the names. Whatever. You just the character work is. I've never read anything like it. The detail that the man goes through to get to each character, building them up. When Marius is falling in love with Cosset, it's kind of comical in a way, but it's so good the way he writes it. That's just such a great scene. And there is an age gap thing. You know, this book came out in what? So if you can't handle that, then bypass the book. It didn't bother me because the writing was just so good. I should have did a little bit of research when this book came out because it doesn't say, like, the original manuscript by Victor Hugo. Well, that's just talking about. So, whatever, you know what I mean? It was the 1800s, I'll tell you that. It was the 1800s. I want to say it was like 1863 or something is what I remember reading, but I don't remember. 1800s. And it was just so good, man. Like, I did dog ear a section of the book that I wanted to read y'all, but I'm not going to because I'm lazy. But the chapter was chapter 6 called The Absolute Virtue of Prayer. And what he writes there is just so good. It's so good. Like it's amazing. You could probably find it online, and it's in book 7 of probably part 2 or something. No, it's just book 7. Book 7 of parentheses, and it's the absolute virtue of prayer. If you want to, see what I'm talking about within the pages, that was just a phenomenal section. There was so many phenomenal sections that just I couldn't stop reading the book. I put life on hold. I wanted to finish the book. It took me almost a week. It's a long book. And I read pretty hardcore. And I'm so glad I impulse read the book. It was not on my TBR. It wasn't in my plans to read anytime soon, but I just impulse. I was like, I want to read it. It was been in our cabinet. I was like, for some reason, I got home from work and I was reading my church history book that I have on my August TBR. And it's not that great of a church history book. There's way better out there. I was like, I'm kind of bored with this. I want to read something different. I want to read something I haven't read yet, like a genre or something. I was just thinking, let's read something outside the box. And so I grabbed this book out the cabinet, and I'm glad I did. It was amazing. I can't say it enough. It was amazing. It was just a great book. And Jean Valjean's character work, all the character work was just out of this world. It was following his character throughout the book was just a journey of, it was an all-time journey. I will say the ending was kind of meh for me. The way the ending kind of unfolds, it's a fitting ending. The ending makes sense, but it's still a little bit it ends kind of miserable, but happy at the same time, if that makes any sense at all. But yeah, the ending was definitely not the strongest point of the book, but he makes up for it with the other 1,430 pages. Like, you know what I mean? It's just so good. The detail is kind of insane too. Like, I understand a lot of people probably will never read this book because he will spend 10 pages breaking down every little detail there is about a particular spot and everything there within the spot, the people, the cast of characters, the sub characters, all building up to the main sub characters that lead to the main character after a few hundred pages to he just breaks it all down so well. It's just nothing like it. Like, there's no way I'll read. I just don't think I'm going to read another author with that kind of character detail. And maybe he never did it again after this book, but I've heard he has some other books that are really good as well. They're in my plans for the future. I think at this point I'm probably going to read 6 classics or ancient text or ancient text a year. I don't really have plans to read more than that within this 10 to 11 month TBR I built for myself. I want to knock out some of the series I'm reading. I'm really getting into like a Star Trek mood, so I'm already going to have to adjust again my TBR, my 10-month TBR. This is like the 10th time. Like it's 11-month TBR now because I plugged in a new December where it's all Star Trek and Star Wars, because I really want to do it now, like this month, but I got too much other stuff I want to read. But I can't say enough. I gave it a 20 out of 10. I wanted to give it an infinity symbol because it was that good, but then I was like, you know what? There's a chance I might read something that I love even more, because I've heard that I may like City of God by St. Augustine even more. That's what I've been told because of where I'm at with my faith and my journey. And we'll see. That's another extremely long book. I think I have it planned for September, October, or November. I don't remember. It's one of those 3 months. But we'll see. You know, I think I have A Tale of Two Cities planned before the end of the year, and Frankenstein for October, of course. And I think the wife's actually going to read that one with me. And then I have the Divine Comedy, an ancient text, I guess you could call it, coming up in August. And that'll probably be like a 2-day read because it looks like it's long, but it's not. It's not the way it was written. But I know I'm probably not gonna like. I'm not gonna like the Divine Comedy as much as I like this. This was just a story of epic proportions. It was a journey into a world of the France back then, and just the misery that these characters went through, and it was just insane. You know what I mean? Their lives were so terrible. It makes your perspective change on the world nowadays. At least everyone that's watching these videos, you can assume you're probably more privileged than somebody that's not, and you're certainly more privileged than these people were back then, eating moldy bread to survive and drinking dirt water and just barely living. And like all the characters die towards the end besides like 3, and it's just crazy, and their deaths are just terrible. The one death that really struck me was Eponine, Cosset's stepsister, I guess you could call her. They weren't related, but her story is also really crazy, where she starts out with the Thénardiers, or whatever you want to call them, and how they are, and how they treat Cosset, and how they treat their sons, which is just terrible, and they all die. But Eponine's death was pretty tragic, what she goes through with Marius. And you could kind of foresee it coming, because Victor Hugo foreshadows it a lot, and it's kind of predictable. Not her death, but what she talks to Marius about right there in her last few seconds of life. And then like they're Marius and his friends, they start this like revolution or whatever, and barricade Paris, and there's like this mini war going on between them and the government, and it's just amazing. And then there's like a whole section in the book going over Napoleon and his conquest, pretty much, and all this stuff about it, and all that is this is really great too. All that stuff about Napoleon leads up basically because Marius' father is dying, and the Thénardier, the man, he basically robs Marius' father on his deathbed. But Marius' father thinks that Thénardier is like coming to save, like his savior or something. It's just total confusion. You know, he's dying. He's not going to make it. So Marius feels like he owes this life death to Thénardier. Oh, Thénardier survives, and you're just like totally PO'd. Like, why does this guy get to live and come up at the end of the book still? And then it's just insane. His story is also pretty crazy when it's plugged in. And Marius's best part, as far as Marius goes, the emotions he deals with when he's falling in love with Cosette. Then he thinks he can't love her, and it's crazy. It's crazy. And he's like let's see, this is going to ruin it for a lot of you. He's like 20, 21, 22, or 23, and she's like 14 or 15. So it's a product of its time. That was a common thing back then. You know what I mean? Yeah, so, but their relationship ends well. They get married. All this stuff. So many spoilers. But I mean, most of you that are gonna watch this video have either read the book or probably never gonna read the book. We also, and I regret getting the musical. Now I wish we would have bought the mini series instead. Although this might be fun to watch. I'm not a big musical guy, but it has an A-list cast. You know what I mean? You got Hugh Jackman, Russell Crowe, Anne Hathaway, Amanda Seyfried, Helena Bonham Carter, Sacha Baron Cohen. So many characters. Eddie Redmayne, who I don't have no idea who he is. But it's so long. 2 hours and 38 minutes of a musical. I don't think I can do that in one sitting. I'm not a musical type of guy. I used to be back when I was younger, when my mind was more open, but it's not now. I'm old and that thing is shut down to the world. So I don't know if I'm going to enjoy it, but I'm definitely going to go into the movie hoping that it stays true to, if it stays pretty true to the book, at least the main scenes, then I'll probably watch it all. I'm going to watch it all in one sitting. I don't know why I said it wasn't. Assuming our psychotic children allow it. 2 hours and 38 minutes in this house is an eternity when you got a kid slapping you in the face with his foot and the other one screaming because she can't get out of a hole in Minecraft. I don't know what we're going to do about that thing. About that Minecraft stuff. But she's been playing less. We're on this analog kick to get off screen time. I'll go over that in another video. Anyways, my mind is all over the place because that's where this book put it. I thought about it all day at work while I was baking under the beaming sun with the heat index of 120 degrees with galvanized steel reflecting into my face and burning my retinas out of my skull while fiberglass flew off the insulation. We were hanging 20 feet in the air, flapping me in the head and making me all itchy all over the place. And there's no protection because safety is not what we're all about in our job. So the one thing that got me through the day was thinking about how I was going to go about this review, and it was supposed to be a 7-minute video, but here we are almost 20 minutes in, and I still have so much more I want to say about it because it was just that amazing of a book. And I think every person in the world should read this book at least once in their life. Yeah, you have to read it. Take a freaking year to read it. Let's see. If you divided 1,460 pages by 365, my wife's got the handy dandy calculator open to do the math for us, and you took a little, like, wrote 2 sentences of notes every day when you read, let's see how many pages, when you read, whoa, we went nuts there. Oh my gosh. That's 4 pages a day. You could write a 1 to 2 sentence summary each day about the whole 4 pages that you read because you accomplished oh so much. And I think you would be doing yourself a service. There's like, I'm going to say every man should read the Bible once in his life. If anything, read the New Testament. If anything, and maybe the Torah, the first 5 books of the Old Testament, and read the New Testament. And Psalms. Psalms is great. You should read Psalms. And then when you're done with that, you should pick up this book and you should definitely read it because it will change your perspective on modern society in ways I personally did not expect. I thought this was just going to be a book, a product of its time, the 1800s, and I figured, I'm probably going to enjoy it. It'll probably, be a good memory. But you know what? My kids are homeschooling, and when they turn about 10 or 11, guess what? They're going to be studying this piece of literature for an elective. Like, it's going to happen. Like, I've already put it in my brain, and I won't forget. I don't forget things. I can remember the flavored Kool-Aid I pulled out from underneath my great-grandmother's bed when I was 3 years old and drank it out of the bottle, and vividly remember her picking me up, putting me in her lap after I climbed into her rickety box spring that probably, if she would have sat down with her whole 300 pounds, that spring could have shot me in the little brain right there as a 3-year-old. And when I was grabbing my cherry Kool-Aid because it rolled under there, yeah, We're talking, this is the olden days, dude. They were feeding us sugary Kool-Aid. I was 3 years old. I was already jacked out of my mind. I had no chance with my health as I got older. You know what I mean? I was slopping down Hamburger Helper and Kool-Aid at 3 years old. There was no chance. The fact that I've turned it around this much in my 40 years amazes me every day, because I should just be sitting around drooling on myself, wondering when my wife was going to feed me the next hot dog and Vienna sausage, because that's where I was heading. But somehow, through reading, I've turned my life around. I've decided maybe I shouldn't just ponder on my past of cherry Kool-Aid at 3 years old and slopping down Hamburger Helper and probably 76 pounds of sugar yearly. That led me to 300 pounds by the time I was 15. And I should be thinking about, what more can I do in my life to provide my children with this type of literature and get them to enjoy it? I mean, they read, my wife and daughter read the kids' Bible every day, which is great. And I think they should. But after I read this book, and all these thoughts popped in my head the last few days. You think I've been walking around the last 30 years thinking about the cherry flavored Kool-Aid I drank under my great grandma's bed? No. This came in my head as it like unlocked a part of my subconscious I didn't even know was there. And I started contemplating my life. And I think this book unlocked my urge to reclaim my faith. I knew I shouldn't be neglecting or denying the service I was called to provide. Every excuse I could come up with in the book, and I shared this as a post too here on YouTube and on my Facebook. This book definitely unlocked something within my brain that made me be like, okay, I'm lying to myself. I'm denying the service I was called and the obedience I've been put on this earth for. You know, you don't have to believe in God or value Christianity or any religion at all. But when you feel a calling towards something, you're doing yourself you're not doing yourself justice if you don't listen to it. And I definitely listened to it last year when it beckoned me. But I used every excuse you can imaginable. And you know what? There's a famous Quentin Tarantino quote that he uses in a movie, and I'm not Pete Segath. I know what I'm talking. I'm not quoting the Bible, but it's actually Pulp Fiction. I'm quoting an actual quote in a movie. I want to say it's Kill Bill Volume 2, but excuses are as useless as having a butthole right here. And that's a great saying, because it truly is. Excuses are truly useless. And the craziest part about denying my faith and all this stuff, that all this book brought, this, I'm telling you, this book woke something up. The philosophy in this book made me think 97 ways to Sunday that, okay, I'm definitely not on the right path in my life personally. And I make all these videos on YouTube, and I don't want to be like somebody that's like pushing religion down my viewers' throats, but I absolutely want to be somebody that's not afraid to share the books I want to read that pertain to the faith, and books that make me think, like Victor Hugo's Les Miserables made me think. I don't want to neglect that. When I first went to start book reviewing on the channel last year, I was reading a bunch of religious texts, and I was sort of reviewing them, but I was like trying to keep it like, some of them I didn't. There was a few faith-based books that I read that I loved that I didn't even review, because I was trying not to like stir the pot on social media, because social media is just, if you took a dump in a giant pot for 100 years, 100 different people crapped in that pot, that's social media. You're sticking your face in a big bucket of doo-doo, and that's what social media is. And I didn't want to be like in a conflict of interest. And then I got back into card gaming, and I started seeing it then earlier this year when we got back into gaming. I'm not blaming gaming. I love playing the card games, and I definitely, if I had the time, would want to go back to them. But what it did do though was started making me stray away from the things that were important in my life, and things I knew I shouldn't have neglected, but I did anyways. And when I started reading this book and started reflecting over our life, you know, when we were not just the going to church part. If you read my post, you'll understand, you know, the anxieties and the church stuff that I have, but just the life we were leading. Our lives were better, even though they technically was the same as it is right now, but it was better. We were happier. We watched less TV. We were doing a bunch of stuff that was different as far as my wife and my life, you know, our personal private life went. And it was fantastic. But we strayed away. We used every excuse. If you could lick the elbow butthole, we were definitely doing it. And it was stinky. And we used every excuse we could to stray away. Not so much my wife. She pretty much just was like, whatever, you know what I mean? We were so distracted by the psycho animal that is our son that we didn't even realize, we didn't even catch ourselves in the fray of the stray. I don't even know if that makes sense, but whatever. But then I started reading this book, and I'm like, okay, something's happening within my brain and my emotions and my thoughts, and I was missing something. The last few months I've been missing something, and I feel terribly sorry for people that don't believe in God. And I'm not going to tell you you should. No matter what I do with my life, with my degree in biblical studies, and if I do or do not become a preacher in the future, I'm not going to tell somebody you should believe in God, you should read the Bible, even though I said every man should read the Bible. Let me rephrase that. Every man should read the Bible if they want to. You don't have to read it in a sense that you're going to worship the text. Read it as if it was another book if you don't want to be a part of the religion, you know, or any of the religions that use the Bible as their moral foundation, as their moral compass. You don't have to do that. You should just read it because it's a great piece of history. It's a great piece of text. Definitely there's stories in there that are exaggerated for, you know, what they're telling, but it's all been archaeological. We're not even going to go there because I got other books. I'll go over that, and you can read those books when you want. Those will definitely not be reviews like this, but this review is different because of the journey that this book took me on personally, not just with the cast of characters and in 1832 France and everything they were going through, all the crazy stuff they went through over those years leading up to 1832. The journey that this book put me on personally over the last week has been enlightening. It's unbelievable that a piece of literature from, good Lord, almost 200 years ago now, opened my mind up and sent me into another realm of my consciousness that I was not paying attention to. And I'm glad it did, because the calling was there, and it always has been since I was a young man. I was a teenager. We're talking almost 30 years ago. And if you read my post, you'll see that. And you'll also know why I have such conflict with my faith. And it's the dumbest reason. It's the tattoos on my body. I let it get in my head, and then other things happening, especially in America. But those things you have to look at through a pinhole, because these things happening are definitely manufactured. The culture wars, the denomination wars within the different denominations of the churches here, the Christian versus Islam, the Christian versus Christian in America, because yeah, it's become that. We have two branches of Christianity that are at wits right now because of, you know, our crazy president. And if you're a fan of the president, I'm not trying to offend you. I'm definitely not trying to do that. I'm just saying we've created this weird, like, 3-tier system of Christianity that doesn't need to be there. And the same thing with Christianity and Islam. We're literally worshiping the same God. There should be no reason we're at each other's throats all the time. And you know what? The people that are at each other's throats are such a small percent. They're such a small percent. But we're warped by media. Just like all these people back then that had no idea the direction they were being led. The ones that were being led astray, and their lives were just terrible, but they wouldn't admit it. And then you had just the hierarchy of status within the people in this book was insane. You had people dining and fine dining and living the best life they could possibly be living back then. And then you had people just starving to death, naked on the street in the freezing cold. They didn't even have a rag to cover their privates, eating black dead bread. And it's just, you spin all that into what's happening in the world today, and it's the same thing. I sit here recording my videos on my phone, a privilege that you go across the ocean into another continent, and those people are starving to death. They're being persecuted. They're being murdered for their choice of religion. And it all connects back to the same thing. You know what I mean? It's all, you can't look at it as, oh, organized religion is evil and that's why all this stuff's happening. No, it's people, man. Read this book. Read the Bible. Read some other form of ancient text going over humans, because humans have been, if one thing they've been since the beginning and still are today, me and you and everyone else around us, we are all the same. We are born broken, pretty much. There's no changing what we are. We are just humans are gonna make war. Humans are gonna make death. There's just no stopping it. It's never going to change, no matter what kind of ideas that seem so fluffy and sugar-coated and sweet, like we could all look the same and shave our heads and slap a barcode over our eyeballs and all eat beans for the rest of our life and everyone's so happy. It's never going to happen, because our species is flawed in the one way that makes us special. And this book does a great job taking you through that. This book does such a phenomenal job taking you through what makes us special as a species, because you can't have hate. You can't have chaos without love and order. It's just so amazing that this author was able to put this in these pages. It's like one long, just extreme lesson that you're going through as you follow these characters throughout the book. And it definitely stirred my thoughts. Obviously it had some kind of effect on me, and I'm not going to deny it, and I'm not going to deny anything any longer. I still have a lot to learn. I probably have my knowledge of literature and biblical studies and etc. It's like 0.001%. I'll never even get to 1% knowledge in my lifetime. I'll never get there. And that's fine with me. But all these thoughts, I guess what I'm trying to say is all this accumulates into what Victor Hugo put within the pages of this amazing book. Like, this book did something that so far no other book has done. And I think I'll probably read books I'll love more than this book, but I have to appreciate this book and keep it my number one, just for the fact that it's done what it's done for me in July of 2026, the last week of the month. What it's done to my thoughts, what it's done to my personality, what I thought I loved and what I thought I enjoyed. The adjustments that it's made me sit back and think, okay, let me do this with my life instead, so I can do this for my children with their lives instead. It all stemmed because of the first few hundred pages of this book. And I really wish I would have marked what the Archbishop tells Jean Valjean when he sees him out, when he sees him away. Because that one sentence that he tells him brought tears to my eyes and awoke me in a way I've never felt. And I tried to tell my wife, you should read this book, and she gave up on it, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're crazy. And I was like dogging her for it, which I regret now. I shouldn't have done that. But I hope someday she reads the book, because I want everybody to experience the experience that I had with the book. I'm not that smart. I can't think of words that well when I'm talking. If I was writing, I probably would have, like, if you see how I write and how I talk, you're gonna be like, is this dude using AI to write? Which I'm not. I've always been a better writer than speaker. That's why I wish I would have printed out my review, my small review that I did make of the book. because I tried to write it as well as I could. It was like 11:30 last night, and I was tired, one eye open, like, oh my god, I'm gonna be so dead at work the next day. But I just had to get it wrote down. I wanted to talk about the book. I could talk about this book all day. I almost wanted to just start over and read it again. I almost did. I almost did. But not thankfully, I wish I would have, but I've been having this idea in my head that I really wanted to read some Star Trek. And that's what I'm reading right now. I'm 50 pages in. This book is really cool. It's definitely a different Star Trek book than a lot of the other ones. Peter David's a phenomenal author. So y'all have waited 36 minutes to hear me talk about what I'm reading next. This will be my first book of August. I don't know, man. I had an amazing time with the book. And if you have time and you have the book laying around, at least flip to that section that I told you. In book 7, chapter 6, Absolute Virtue of Power. It's 2 pages, 2 and like a quarter pages. Read it. It's such a great little piece. And if you know what the Archbishop told Jean Valjean when he sent him away, please put it down in the comments down below. If any of you know. In my whole, few of y'all that watch the videos, and I appreciate y'all. And I'm so glad some of y'all are going to be going along with me on this journey that I'm about to partake in, that I started last year, that I let go of. I did it out of ignorance. I did it out of anxiety, ignorance, and being programmed by social media. And I vow today, on July 31st, no matter what I'm going to do or how I go about it, I am not going to let social media have any significant role in my life, because it's such a cesspool of just explosive diarrhea garbage, and I don't want it to have any kind of role in my life. And if I wasn't writing books, and if I wasn't making these videos, I would not even have a social media. But as it is, I love talking to the people whose videos I watch, and y'all watch my videos. I love the little bit of conversation we have with each upload. I love when I post on Facebook, and my acquaintances I've made over the years on the platform we have great conversations. I'm good friends with people of all different types. I'm good friends with the atheist who talks to me all the time. He used to be a youth preacher. He stepped away from the religion. I do not judge him for that. I do not. We talk all the time. He asked me, when is your next book ever coming out? Are you going to write horror anymore? And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm friends with somebody who he's a devout Muslim. He's a great guy. He is getting a doctorate in literature, English literature. He's a super brilliant young man. He's like, I want to say 24 or 25 now. He's a brilliant young man. Why would I judge him because he's in a different religion? It's insane to me. And that book brings all these thoughts about. It does that. It does that. I'm sure there's a 1,000 other classic books that have the same effect on 1,000 different people across the globe. But for where I'm at in my life, I'm almost 40 years old. I've suffered all kinds of crazy issues the last few years. I've had a lot of problems. And I think it all led me to my impulse. I mean, this book was a literal impulse read. I just had a thought. There was no reasoning to why I wanted to read the book. I just wanted to read it because I wanted to read a classic, and we had 2 choices, this or some other book. And I picked that. I picked it. And I'm so glad I did, because it changed me on so many levels. I'm reading my Bible again daily. I'm going to try to read it through before the end of the year. That's 8 chapters a day. I am studying this book, The Church of Christ. I do plan to go back to church at some time. If not, just have church with my own little family in our own little house and learn to do it ourselves, because you can do that. You can do that. We'll see what we're going to do. I definitely can't afford to go to church every weekend, so we can definitely go to church and commune with everyone that we love there, and talk to them sometimes. And then if we don't have the finances, we can stay home and have it amongst ourselves. And I need the practice anyways. I need the knowledge. And circling back around to what I've said probably 3 times in the video, all this came about this week. This week, July. I started the book on July 24th of 2027, and I finished it on July 30th. And all this came practically from the first 500 pages of the book. Because that's what really, I mean, it got me. I was enveloped. I was enthralled. I was so inexplicably lost in those pages with my emotions and with the journey that I was going on in the book that it changed everything about me. And I can't even lie about it. I can't deny it. I found myself immediately going through all kinds of different aspects of life. What I want to read. Do I want to read that because it may be too far secular for my likings, or what I want to listen to is that going to detach me from my journey, with Christ? Is it going to detach me subliminally? I don't know. Call it radical, call it conspiracy theory, call it whatever you want. But this book definitely impacted me in a way that made me have those thoughts, made me pick up my Bible again and start reading it. And it's sad that a piece of fictional literature is what it took to spark me, to re-spark my faith and get me back into the history of the Bible and fill in my mind with the knowledge that you gain from such a text and praying again and all this stuff. It's sad, but it's also a blessing. It's also just, I'm 37, and this is definitely a turning point in my life. I'm hungry. I got to get off this video. I don't know what came over me in this video. I'm sorry. And if for some reason any of you actually sit through this whole thing, let me know. Give me your PayPal. I'll send you $1. You know what I mean? If you sat through the whole thing, I don't know. You're crazy. You're crazy. But that's the video, guys. I'm out of here. Later.